A group of adventurers walked quietly into a tavern and sat down at a table. As soon as they did, a waitress appeared and took their orders before slipping away to fill them. As the men sat quietly at the table, a local bard took a stool near the fireplace and began to strum on his lute. "Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to our wonderful establishment. Tonight, I will begin my performance with a tale about one of our local, beloved adventurers who I'm sure many of you have, at the very least, heard of in your travels. He is a man of great power and great renown across all of Magefall. You would all know of him as Rogue Dragon, and this fun and happy tale that I am about to sing speaks of just one of his most recent calamities," said the bard happily. He then strummed lightly on his lute, before smiling at the crowd. "Shall we begin?" Rogue looked up as an older man, a mage by trade, walked casually over to his table. "Hey there, long time no see. How you doing?" asked the mage. Rogue gestured to a seat, which the mage quickly availed himself to. "I'm doing fine. How are you?" he asked. The mage smiled. "Oh, not bad. Just wandering aimlessly from town to town right now, as I'm in between jobs, and don't have a team of my own currently," he replied. Rogue perked up at this. Yeah, that's been me lately for the most part, as the two teams I usually run with have been away on personal business in real life. Most of it is just the usual end of year and holiday stuff. So they should be back again after New Year's," he replied. The mage laughed. "That's one of the advantages of being retired. I can be in here all day long and nobody cares. Well, my wife does, but she's just as addicted to this place as I am," he chuckled. Rogue grinned. "Isn't that always how it works?" The mage nodded. "Indeed it is. So what have you been doing in your spare time lately?" Rogue shrugged. "Oh, just picking up small mentoring jobs here and there with the local teams," he replied. The mage smiled. "Ah, that's good. You've always been a great mentor." Rogue beamed happily at this. "Thanks. So, have you been working on growing your craft any more lately? Or just enjoying being somewhere that isn't the real world?" he asked. The mage perked up at this. "Actually, yes, believe it or not. I've been working on perfecting a few new Calamity and Chaos class elemental spells," he replied. Rogue tilted his head thoughtfully. "Wow, Calamity and Chaos class. Those must be pretty mana-intensive for you," he said with interest. The mage nodded. "They are. That's why I'm glad you taught me how to use Arc Vaults some time back. Those have been a godsend when I've been on quests and was low on mana. They're a whole lot cheaper to have around than mana potions or stones. I also like the incredible flexibility they offer me." Rogue nodded. "I'm glad you enjoy them. How long does it generally take you to build up enough mana for a decent-sized quest or mission?" The mage shrugged. "Oh, 2, maybe 3 days. But that's if I'm completely out. I normally spend a few hours each day at peak mana building and filling up new vaults and storing them away in my bag of holding until I need them. That way I have a good-sized stash of mana for those really difficult missions that we sometimes run into." Rogue nodded approvingly. "That's a really smart idea. I should probably tell my team to do the same, even if they don't typically use them." The mage nodded. "You should. They can be the difference between completing a quest or having to respawn in the nearest town and try again." Rogue laughed. "Yes, they would. So, since we've got some free time to kick around, would you like to show me how far you've come with your new skills?" The mage's eyes lit up at this. "Sure. Where do you want to go to give them a spin?" "There's a practice field just outside of town where guild members go that, should something go awry, we won't have to worry about anyone getting hurt." The mage perked up at this. Oh, that sounds like the perfect place. We might even find someone to mentor while we're there, if there's anyone in need of it, that is." Rogue smiled. "That's possible. I mean, you never know." The two men then hurried away to the practice field where, upon arriving, they found a number of other people, both observers and adventurers alike, were working hard to perfect their skills. As the two men stepped onto the field, the others took notice of this and immediately retreated from the area, knowing that, without a doubt, something catastrophic was about to happen. "Okay, show me your first spell. Let's see how well it works," said Rogue. "With pleasure," replied the mage. He then raised his hands and began his incantation. A few moments later, a small but respectable mushroom cloud of fire erupted from the middle of the field, leaving behind a small crater that smoked and smoldered lightly. Rogue, being impressed with this, decided that he wanted to give the same spell a try. However, only knowing the name of the spell, and having no practice at actually casting it, he merely repeated the incantation that his friend had just spoken. To both his and the mage's surprise, he not only cast the spell perfectly on his first try, but also a massive mushroom cloud of fire that would easily match that from the bomb at Hiroshima. Upon seeing this, and not wanting to risk anyone getting harmed, the mage immediately cast a Calamity-class water spell that quickly spread out across the area, dousing the now raging forest fire that the spell had created, while also quenching the boiling lava crater left behind. Thinking that his friend was merely demonstrating another spell, rather than trying to put out the Armageddon-level disaster that he'd just created, he repeated the same water spell as the mage had just done. However, in doing so, he inadvertently created a nearly 2,000-foot tall column of water that rapidly spread out across the area like a tsunami. The mage, upon seeing this, panicked and immediately cast a Calamity-level ice spell to freeze the water in its tracks. However, to his chagrin, his effort proved to be insufficient, as there was too much water to freeze with just the comparatively small amount of mana he had available. Again, thinking that the mage was demonstrating yet another of his new spells, Rogue attempted to copy it. But in doing so, he inadvertently turned the entire area into a mirror image of Antarctica, complete with super cold ice and snow everywhere. The only redeeming part of this was that it also froze the tsunami wave, preventing it from doing any real damage or hurting anyone. The mage then quietly stood there for a moment, covered in ice and frost, and shivered deeply as his breath belched from his mouth like frosty dragon's fire. He then glanced over briefly at the now frozen tsunami wave of water that loomed high above the practice field before returning his attention back to Rogue. "When you were copying my spells just now, were you going all out?" he asked. Rogue shook his head. "Nah, I was casting those on the minimum power setting." The mage looked at him in shock. "That's what you call minimum?" he replied in surprise. Rogue grinned. "Yeah, it was. Want to see what maximum power looks like?" The mage immediately began waving his hands frantically. No, no, don't do that," he screamed. Rogue shrugged at this. "Okay, that's fine. Then I'll just tick it up a level and show you what the next tier looks like." However, before the mage could protest this, a young boy ran towards them shouting, "Try an earth spell, Mr. Dragon. Do an earth spell." Rogue smiled at the young man. "Sure, I can do that." The mage, upon hearing this, began waving his hands frantically. No. The group of adventurers, who sat at a table just across from the bard, looked at the man in wonder and amazement, as well as a twinge of disbelief. "That's quite a tale you're weaving there, bard. But is any of it true? I mean, one man can't be that absolutely destructive, can he?" asked one of the men. The bard grinned happily. "Oh, it's very true, my good friend. This is a story that does not deviate a whisker from the facts, or the depth of reality of which it portends," said the bard. The three men looked at him in both suspicion, as well as a tinge of wonder. "All right, we might be convinced to believe your tale, Mr. Folksinger. However, before we fully accept it, what can you give us as proof of its validity?" asked one of them. The bard grinned. "Do you remember seeing a great mountain, seemingly out of place, to the north of the town as you entered it?" he asked. The three men nodded. "Yes, we do. It's a strange thing, too, as it's so out of place in this land of flat valleys and low rolling hills." The bard grinned. "That's because that used to be our training field. Now, thanks to Rogue and his overly aggressive use of earth magic, we are, unfortunately, blessed with our own training mountain, rather than our previous practice field. And, as much as it pains me to say this, given its impressive size, it will be quite a few decades before we can whittle it down to just a flat plain again. That is, unless you gentlemen wish to assist us in pruning its majestic heights."